Hello, welcome back to Veggie Plot. This week's video, we can have a good look around the polytunnel, see how everything's coming along, see some of the jobs that need doing. I've also found some strawberry runners growing in the ground outside around the pots, which I had them growing in last year. So I've managed to salvage them, so I'll show you how I'm going to pot those up. I've also got a load of seeds which need to be sowed. I'm going to get on with my courgettes now and my cucumbers, etc., because they should be ready in a few weeks' time, and then we'll be into May and it'll be perfect time for sowing. It's getting quite warm in here now actually as it goes during the day. We've had up to 39 when I forgot to open the doors, but it's 17 at the moment, down to 4.7 at night, so still a bit chilly. But I'll show you what I've got going on around the polytunnel, and then you can get a feel for how I'm doing. So I'd love to know how you're doing too. Just let me know in the comments how you're getting on this year, because it's been quite cold, hasn't it? Cold and damp. Things aren't sort of moving on all that quickly, but it's not May yet, is it? Only around the corner there. Right, let's have a good look around. Right, to start with, we've got some onions. These are the Kamal Red, and they were sown as seeds. They've come up. They went in on the heat mat and definitely made a difference compared to those which didn't. These are shallots, but these haven't germinated, whereas these did, and these were indoors on the heat mat. So I can definitely recommend getting your seeds on heat mats if it's still a bit chilly where you are. Then next to them we've got some leeks, and these are my favoured Musselburgh leeks. These were sown on the 12th of the 3rd this year. They're all looking lovely, and at some point I may divide them or not sure, but they'll need feeding soon to make sure they stay healthy and strong. As I said, the shallots didn't come up. The sets of the onions are doing okay. These are the stir on and the set on. These are both going to go out onto the allotment in a week or so. They've all begun to root through underneath quite nicely, if you can see that. So now they've done that, they'll go out and perhaps under a bit of cover, not quite sure yet. Next to them we've got my tomatoes. Now these are doing really well. These are the ones I'm going to be growing here in the polytunnel, and they're shot up. I've given them a bit of a water today, so there's everything from Cherry Falls, which is like a dwarf, to Honeycomb, which is a lovely F1 small cherry tomato, delicious, and lots more honeycomb there, and a whole variety of Sunrise Jazz, Alice's Dream, Cuban Salami. So I've talked about them in previous videos, but they're all looking lovely. Might need a little feed soon. If you haven't fed your baby tomatoes, sometimes you do need to. I think it's about a quarter strength feed is what you want to use for them before they go out in the ground. But I am thinking that these will go out in, I don't know, maybe in a week or so, into the ground that is. I've been leaving these over here, which are the backups, and as you can see they're small. I've been leaving these outside and they're all doing fine, but they are much smaller, so they are behind. But yeah, so I think maybe to slow these up a bit, I will actually plant them out very soon. The second sowing of sweet peas, now not sweet peas, garden peas. These have finally popped up. I was a bit worried that they weren't going to. We've got some green fly on there, and this one. I've had a bit of a green fly infestation in here. It's been really frustrating. I get it every year over the winter. So anyway, got to sort those out, get them in the ground soon. They will be rooting nicely under there. Some dwarf French beans. Now these are Boston, and I sowed them on the 13th of this month, and they're doing really well. They've been indoors for a little bit, and then I've been ferrying them in and out of the greenhouse at nights just to make sure, but they've been in the polytunnel overnight last night and they're looking fine, so I'm just going to leave them out here now. They'll be ready to go into the ground soon once I've hardened them off. More peas. Sweet peas are looking good. More onions. These were the original seeds that I grew of the Kamal. They didn't do well. They should have gone on a heat mat, so that was a waste. Shan't do that next time. We've got lots of lettuces still to harvest, and the potatoes all doing really well. They got a bit hot today before I opened the door, so they need staking up, but they're doing well. Orange trees, the vines, the gooseberry. Did you see the baby gooseberry I've got? See it there? Dahlias to do, backup tomatoes. Oh, and sweet corn. Here we go. We've got some incredible sweet corn. They've just come out. They were indoors on the windowsill in the front room, and you can see they're all sort of at an angle going towards the light. So I brought them out here now, and they're going to stay out here. More sweet corn. We've got some butternut squash at the back there. And then we've got some beetroot and chard and so on in the cell tray here. Still lots of parsley. Got to sort all that out. So much to do still. Just put these out of the way. And we'll get on with these strawberries first, I think. Now, the thing with strawberries, obviously, is that once you've grown some, as long as you nurture the runners, which they'll send off every year, you know, put them into a ground, or even take them out of the ground if they self-root, you can actually end up with sort of free strawberries, keep saying tomatoes, strawberries forever, you know, as long as you look after them. And the thing to remember is that they don't like getting really, really wet roots. Well, I've had these in water, so probably a bit too long to be honest, but just got to take all this sort of dead old leaf stuff off the top and these old bits of runner, and then pop these into some pots. And then these will grow on this year and we'll have some nice little strawberry plants. Now, sometimes I've taken the flowers off to let them establish in the first year, but not sure if I will this year. I think I might just push them and see what happens. Right, so I'm going to get some pots and we'll get these potted up. So if you haven't grown strawberries before, I really recommend it. You don't need an awful lot of room for strawberries as it goes. You can grow them in pots or planters, or, you know, in rows on your allotment or in your garden beds. There are three sort of main types, I suppose. You get sort of like a summer fruiting variety, and they're the ones that, you know, you see in the shops, so the lovely big red berries. And oh, don't want that too deep in the soil there. Just want that poking. I want that crown just above the surface as it goes, so it doesn't rot. You can get others as well. You can get some which are sort of like everbearers or perpetual strawberries, and they tend to produce strawberries which are a little bit smaller but slightly more often throughout the season, and so they sort of go right the way through until the first sort of frosts. And then you can get some which I had rather a lot of because they self-seed quite a lot, are the alpine strawberries. And yeah, they're sort of like a tiny sort of wild strawberry which self-seed quite easily and spread. But I had lots last year on the allotment, almost to the point where they were a weed really. But they were very sweet, although you don't get an awful lot of strawberry for your money. So that's what I'm doing with these. These, I think, are the summer fruiting strawberries. As you can see, we've left the crown just slightly proud of the surface so that that doesn't sort of rot off. But then these will root nicely into here, and then we can plant them out on the allotment when I've worked out where they're going to go a little bit later in the season. I mentioned earlier, these are from runners, these strawberries. Now, if you don't know what runners are, basically, if you imagine this is the parent plant here, what it does is it sends out in autumn, it sends out this long, we call it a runner. And basically at the end of that, a little plant, strawberry plant develops. And then sometimes that in itself will also send on a runner. And this is how it propagates. So you'll end up with several little plants coming off the main parent plant. And so what you do is you plant this one in the ground, or you can peg it into a pot or something like that later on in the autumn. And then once it's rooted and you get these lovely little roots come through, you can snap the runner, take the runner off. So this then becomes its own plant. So what you would do is you would snap the runner off that side and this side, get rid of the runner, and you'd end up with just one little plantlet which you'd plant up. And this is really mainly for the big summer fruiting strawberries that you get. So all we do is just put some compost into here. Now, strawberries like a fairly neutral to acid sort of fertile ground. They don't like it all heavy and clay. If you have sort of heavy clay ground, it's best to grow them in raised sort of ridges in your beds or in pots. But yeah, if you've got good soil which suits strawberries, then you can plant them straight into the ground. So that's how I do that. That's how we do them. That's how they grow as runners. So yeah, I think the best thing is I'll get on and pot all these up, and then we'll get on with some seeds. That's most of them done. Before we ever look at these seeds, we'll go and see how many we've got. I actually haven't potted them all up. I've still got these to go, so I think there's probably another dozen or so in there. But yeah, these are all the strawberries potted up from that little section. So these are all basically free, which you can't complain about at all, can you? They may not do brilliantly, but they're done okay in the past. Apart from that one year I put them all up on the allotment and then they were on seaweed which was too salty and killed them all off, so that was not a good idea. But I'm hoping this year we get a better crop, so later in the season I'd be able to show you the strawberries from these. Right, now let's have a look at these seeds. So today I'm going to be planting up some cucumbers and gherkins and things. I want to get them on the go, they're really important. And I want to get the courgettes going, so these will be indoors too. I've got some cabbages to do, cauliflowers, celery, runner beans, basil, absolutely my favourite, love basil. And then we've got some mixed salad leaves which I'm just going to grow in a box, and some kohlrabi and the watermelon seeds. So I don't know I'm going to get them all done in this video, but these are the things that I want to be planting out and sowing in May. These are the seeds I want to be doing late April into May. Now, who is it on YouTube who does these in little boxes? Tony C. Smith, that's it. Tony, have you ever watched my videos? Don't know if you do, but yeah, I really like the way you grow these. So I'm going to try growing these in some salad trays. Yeah, and just then cut and come sort of harvesting. So that's what I want to get onto today. So I'm just going to use one of these cell trays that I normally use, and I'm only going to put one seed per cell. And I know most people probably do that anyway, but with these larger seeds I like to just get one sort of plant up and running per cell and then pot them on a little bit as they germinate. So what we're going to do is get the Courgette Soleil. This is F1, grew quite nicely last year. Lovely yellow courgette, really quite unusual, but yeah, really good to grow. And I think I've got about 3 seeds just left in here. They're quite big seeds and I think they're still in date. So the trick with these seeds, so people will say, is to plant them on their side like that. I don't know if you can see, so that less moisture sits on them and so they don't rot. That's what a lot of people think. I'm not 100% if it works, because I imagine if stuff falls on the ground it just sort of falls wherever it falls, and probably on its side. But anyway, just put them on this side for conventional thinking. Pop in a label for the type, and then I can do the next ones in these. Now, these are green machine, and these are sort of the popular green ones that you see in the supermarkets and everywhere actually, and they'll grow from, you know, tiny to really big very, very quickly if you don't catch them. Best when they're about sort of 4 or 5 inches long, I think, and I've got about 10 seeds of these. So again, I'm just going to put them on their sides. And we've got one left over, which is typical, isn't it? So I'll have to put that into a separate little pot, I think. This will give me a huge amount of courgettes, which is sometimes a blessing and sometimes not. But I'll let you work that one out. If you get them small enough, you're okay. It's just when they get that big, it's ridiculous. You just want to get them nice and small. Right, so that's those, and we've got green machine label here. So what I do is I'll put this one like this, and that signifies those 3 of those, and then I'll put this up here to signify that all the rest of the others are green machine. Next ones to sow are these Lamona, and I'm going to be taking some of these back to my family to share them around. So I'm actually going to sow all of these before you think I've gone completely crazy and sowing too many too many courgettes. So let's get those in there. Again, I think there's, say, about 10 or so. They're quite lovely chunky seeds, got this sort of lemony colour to them actually. So right, again on their sides, just put them in about a seed or 2's depth into the compost. All I do is just push them in. Oh, it looks like I've got an extra one. So yeah, just on their side like that. And then a little bit of compost on the top, just very gently cover that over, and I'll give it a little gentle water in a minute. I'll stick the label in, and that can go in the tray with the others. And then these should be up, I think probably within the week. I expect these will be up. They're really quite quick to germinate usually, but they shall go like that. Put the lid on. And and then yeah, this will go indoors. Right, that's got all those seeds sown. I'm going to get on and sow the rest of these now. But if you're interested in any other seeds that I'm sowing at the moment, you can check out this video or this one. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.